Good afternoon. This is John Jones with MarketAdvantage, and thanks for joining me here on our second Monday together. And we're looking at week 2 for the product review, basically, of Dilbeck RealLiving MarketAdvantage. And today's syllabus is a little bit changed because we don't have to do as much contact importing as we did when this series was first built. As you know, typically your Business Center database will move over now into the MarketAdvantage product. So along those lines, we'll change things up a little bit and focus more on the branding and the grouping itself and why it's important and what we should look at there than the actual contact management side of things and actually putting those groups together and importing into those groups, because it's again, we've sort of evolved, and that's a good thing for you and good thing for everybody. Saves you time and effort and everything else. It's just after 3 o'clock for me here. I'm in Denver, Colorado, just after 2 for you folks. So we're on time and getting started, and it looks like lots of people are here and getting logged in. In fact, the ticker is clicking up as we speak. So we'll give everybody just a chance to finish up that last email or that last phone call and join us here on our meeting. But again, I appreciate you sticking with me. Last week was kind of a light overview. If you were here, you know that already. Got to look at the product, got to see what it's all about, and I hope that whether you were brand new to it and had never seen MarketAdvantage before, or you had been using it for years, I hope that you learned something and could walk away with something from last week. That being said, we'll spend some time today talking about groups and how to send out marketing materials and why it's important to put people into groups, and how MarketAdvantage can make that easier for you. We'll be right out again about an hour today. The lion's share, that will be my lesson, and then we'll have questions and answers at the end. If this is the first time you've attended, a couple of things I want you to know. There is a question log that we want to use. If you do have a question that comes up during the presentation, go ahead and click on the question box, and you can just type that in there, and then we'll have a question and answer session at the end where I'll read those questions back aloud so that everyone can benefit from the question, and then hopefully I can get that answered right away on the presentation here, and everybody can benefit from that. That being said, we'll go ahead and get started here. It's a couple minutes after. These sessions are being recorded, so if you missed last week's, or you find that you can't attend next week's, or one of your associates was going to be here and they just didn't make it because they couldn't, then they are being recorded, and those that's being sent back to Lori Hawkins, your marketing director there at Dilbeck, so she can get those distributed out to you, so you know where to find those and view those. So whether you want to review the whole series once we're all done, or you again missed a session, or there was a point in there where you just said, hey, what was John talking about? I wonder if I want to go back and review that. That'll be available for you too as well. So again, I'd love to be out there presenting to you live, but this is sort of the next best thing. So thanks for spending some time with me on Mondays and learning about MarketAdvantage, and today specifically about how to group and turn those clients into referrals and be able to stay in touch with people. So we'll go ahead and get started. This first page that we're looking at should look familiar to everybody. If you were with us last week, and again, if it was your first time, then this is not something you've seen a lot of, but you should have seen it now at least a few times. This is we call this the splash page, and right now we're displaying just a reminder to you about your profile, and that the information being passed over from the Business Center may not be 100% accurate, may not be what you want it to be. So I'm going to always recommend, and I'm going to review this every week, just a little bit, that you check your profile and make sure that the information that's represented here is what you want it to be. If it's not, you just make the changes in these fields and you click on Save Profile, and from that point on, it should be correct. And the reason it's so important, and again, I'm not going to spend as much time on this as I did last week, but it's really important that you have the right information here, because number one, this is, a lot of this is your branding. If you log in here and this does not have the Dilbeck Real Estate Real Living logo here, you need to let someone know right away, and that would be the help desk at Real Living, because there's something wrong there. And again, you chose Dilbeck for a very good reason. You want that your marketing materials to have that on there. Likewise, Anything here that's amiss is going to cause you problems. If there's a misspelling in your website or your email address, people aren't going to be able to contact you properly, correct? So just make sure. The big thing is you're going to send this out time after time, and if you miss it the first time, you're just going to get used to this information being there and populating for you on a piece that you email or that you print, and you may not scrutinize it as closely as you should have. You just sort of take it for granted that it's right. So double check now, make sure it's right, make any changes you want to, and click on Save Profile. And from that moving forward now, it should be correct. Okay, so that is the profile, and again, I'm going to touch on that once a week because it's important. It should be a set and forget kind of thing. Just make sure you set it properly, and you can always go back to it and edit it whenever you want to. All right. We're going to go back to the contact manager again, and this is sort of where we left off last week. We did a pretty good overview of the whole product. Today we're going to spend a lot of time just talking about grouping, the significance of grouping, the things you can do with the system once you have your database properly grouped. And I believe I misspoke last week. A question was asked whether the groups that are already in the Business Center, so if you're using the Business Center for organizing your database, and you've already got groups set up in the Business Center, the question was asked last week, well, will those groups come over with me? In other words, when I log into MarketAdvantage, will my Business Center contacts not only come over in mass, but will they come over in the groups that I've already established in the Business Center? Yes, they will. Last week I erroneously answered that question that those groups would not come over. So if you've already spent time and you're putting those groups together in the Business Center, they will come over. We thought that was a great idea, or at least I did. Thought it was a great idea and a great suggestion last week. Lo and behold, people have already gone before us and have taken care of that. So that is taken care of. So my mistake there, and I appreciate you letting me clear that up a little bit. So just to recap on that, if you're using the Business Center for your database management, including grouping, when you log into MarketAdvantage, it will pull and update your MarketAdvantage contact list and groups, as it turns out, every time you log in. So it's sort of an automatic thing. Remember that the database in the Business Center is always going to win. So that's where you want to keep track of things, where you want to add new prospects, where you want to update any changes. If you want to change someone's phone number or their mailing address, make those changes in the Business Center. Next time you log into MarketAdvantage, it will make those changes for you. Okay, I do not have the benefit of the Business Center account, so we're just going to work within my MarketAdvantage test account here. And you can see, and those of you who are in these various offices will probably recognize some of these names that I have loaded in here. This is part of the management list from Dilbeck that I've loaded there, and that represents my database, my sample database. You might have 100 people in yours, you might have 1,000, you might have 10,000, right? Just depends on where you're coming from and what kind of electronic database you've had in the past and how long you've been in business, right? So either way, and we're just going to work with mine as it is. I've got 10 people in my list. Remember, this will always be, whether it's 10 people or 1,000 people or 10,000 people, one big alphabetized list. So if I want to check them all and then send them all an email, a text email, I could even do that. But let's say I want to send them all a postcard. I can do that simply by checking all of their names, going through, finding a saved piece that I want to send them, and I'll just grab a postcard that we've created in the back, or a flyer. Doesn't look like we've created any. So here's a Dilbeck test flyer that you and I have built together. I can just select email, and it will populate all of those folks for me. Here's my marketing material. Here's the subject, and again, your subject lines are important, and the fact that you get to write the subject line should help you immensely. I think sometimes people are bothered by that, well, I've already picked the marketing material, why do I need to write the subject line? Anything that you've built and saved yourself, we allow you to write your own subject line for it, and there's a good reason for it, and that is that it will help you get your message delivered. Ostensibly, who you're mailing to, they're going to recognize who you are because they're in your sphere of influence. Now, whether or not they're your lifelong client, or they recognize your name because you're the realtor of choice in the neighborhood, so they've seen your name on the signs in front of the properties, they've seen your bus bench ads, those kind of things. But ostensibly, they'll understand that that message is coming from a reputable realtor in their area, and you get to write the subject line. So we're going to pretend that this is a market update flyer. So I'm going to write, John Jones's market update. Or maybe I'm going to go a step further. Bonnie Bray, that's my neighborhood that I farm. Bonnie Bray update. So because I get to write this customized subject line in my email, there's a better chance for it to be opened. Just follow some basic rules for writing good email subject lines. Avoid excessive punctuation. Avoid all caps, those kind of things. Those are the kind of things that an inbound email server will look for from spam email, and you've seen that kind of stuff come through your email box where there's a lot of gobbledygook, for lack of a better term, in the subject line. Try to avoid the excessive punctuation and unusual spacing or a lot of underlining, those kind of things. So write something that's relevant to the message and the audience that you're trying to reach, and you'll have much better success. So I write my own subject line. I can then write an entire text email here if I want to, in text email. I'm just going to write that there so you see what that looks like. And then really the only thing left to do is to preview it. I always recommend you preview it. And I always recommend, whether you're emailing or sending direct mail pieces, that you include yourself on that list. You should always be seated in your own lists. So include yourself in anything that you send. And when we look at the groups in particular back in the Contact Manager, I'll show you how to add yourself to each group as well. Now you may end up, if you send something out to everybody, or you send something out to 4 different groups, you're going to end up with 4 copies of it yourself, right? Because you included yourself in those 4 separate sends. But it's well worth it because you get to see what things are looking like coming from you, right? And that's really important. A lot of times, and especially in the past when we didn't have as much hands-on control of this kind of stuff, then we'd have to rely on and have faith in the people that were sending these things on our behalf. And if you didn't see them, you didn't know what it looked like. So in this case, I'm going to send this to myself also, and I'm going to be able to see what it looks like. So here's our email preview. Here's the text message that I wrote above. Now, you don't have to write anything here if you don't want to, but this gives you the opportunity to write your own intro, paragraph, whatever you want it to be, an entire text email there. This is the marketing piece that we selected, and this is literally what it would look like when it was emailed. Most of your clients will receive it in this format. You are literally emailing them an HTML image embedded in your email. Now, if their security settings are high, they're blocking that image, right? They don't want people just popping images into their emails, but that's okay. In that case, they would get that white box here with the little red X, right? Again, if they know who it's coming from, right? Because you're not blasting to the world, you're blasting to people that have expressed some sort of interest or have done business with you in the past or are connected to you because they are in an area that you happen to farm, those kind of things. So even if their security settings are such that they don't see the image, they can always say, oh, well, I know John Jones, he's the realtor around here. They can always click on View as a web page, and it will convert it, and in a safe format, it will allow this to display for them in a separate web page outside of their email. So your message is going to be seen in that event, regardless of whether they were afraid to open it or their email client didn't allow them to open it, right? And we're actually I'm going to send this to myself through an email, and I want you to see what it really looks like when it's emailed. A couple other points here I just want to show you. Remember, in your profile, you have the ability to put in these links for social media. So if we were to click on this Facebook icon, it would take you to my Facebook fan page for real estate, or my YouTube videos that I've posted for my real estate business. Maybe they're my listings, maybe it's just an introductory video that I posted about myself. But take advantage of that stuff. If you're doing social media, include those in your profile, and then this is how they appear on an emailed piece. Remember, you can also do Twitter, or you can do LinkedIn here as well. There's only 2 spots, so you have to kind of pick and choose. If you're doing all 4 of those things, you got to decide which ones you want presented there. Otherwise, it's just my contact information, and again, I'm sort of glomming on to the Sherman Oaks, California office. I'm not really a Dilbeck agent, so allow me that there. I just want you to see how that looks. If someone wants to unsubscribe, they can do it here, and they can also click for a print version of this flyer that you just sent them. So I'm going to click on that, and it's actually going to create a print PDF for them to view and keep and save and print on their own. So that's a nice option there as well. Let me close this email preview, and actually I'm going to remove all of these people because, as you know, those are real people and we don't want to confuse them today. And I'm just going to email this to myself because I want you to see what this looks like as it comes through email live, what it really does look like. So I've populated it. We're going to send it, and we'll let it go. So it'll tell you that it's sending it. It tells me here that it's been successfully queued, and I will get an email confirmation that it has been sent. Now, we're going to see something in my email, and I left my email open purposely so that we would be able to view this. You're going to get the perspective of both the recipient and the sender in this case. Most of the time, you're only going to get to see the things that you have sent, the things that are designed to display for the sender. So we're going to go to my inbox now, and you're going to see a couple of messages here. Number one, and we'll go back to this in a minute, this is my email confirmation. This shows me that this email confirmation has been sent from my system. So as the agent, I have my agent hat on right now. This just shows me that that email that I just sent was successfully sent. Now I'm going to put on my recipient hat. Okay, pretend that I'm the client now. This is the email that I just received. And just like we looked at in the preview, this is exactly what it looks like. So as long as we've got this open live, I also want you to see what happens when someone receives something from you and they decide, you know what, I am going to unsubscribe from that. They simply click the unsubscribe link. And we're a little bit different than others. We immediately display this message for the client that says they have been removed. It's literally a nice apology for any inconvenience you might have caused. It's got your branding straight from your account. And then as you can see here, my email is already popping. Again, remember, I've got right now I'm looking at this with my client hat on. This is what the client sees when they unsubscribe. I'm going to go ahead and close that. I'm going to go back to my email. This is what you get the minute that someone unsubscribes. So now I've got my agent hat on again, and this is the email that you would receive. It says a client has been removed from your mailing list, the contact's name, and the contact's email address. As the agent now, I don't have to do another thing. I've been notified that it's happened. The system will automatically go to John Jones's contact record in my MarketAdvantage account. Doesn't remove John Jones. I mean, he's still there. I can still call him. I can still send him things through the mail. But it will uncheck a box that allows me to bulk email John at this email address. So it's nice to know about that. It's also nice to know that it's already automatically taken care of for me, and I don't have to worry about going back in and finding John Jones and unsubscribing him before something else goes out, right? So that John Jones doesn't get mad at me. We've made it very easy for you to do that. So I wanted you to see that and see those processes, and we'll go back into the account now. By the way, here's how it looks. So we go to John Jones's record. We go to his contact details, and the very last page is preferences, and you'll see that the system unsubscribed John. Now, another scenario that happens not infrequently is that people will see click here in that original email, right? And they'll click on it before they realize, oh my goodness, I just unsubscribed, right? That unsubscribe message comes up. If they really liked getting your stuff from you, or they're your buddy, or they're a good client, and they accidentally unsubscribed, more than likely, well, actually, in those scenarios, more than likely, you're going to get that notification and pick up the phone and say, hey, John, I didn't mean to bother you so much. I hope that you'll forgive me, that kind of thing. Or they might recognize that and say, oh, I liked getting John's newsletter or those flyers or the property updates. And they'll call you up or email you and say, hey, put me back on the list. And then you just do what we just did. Click on the contact record, go to preferences, recheck the box, and they're back in the flow of things, and now I can email John Jones again. I'm sure I don't have to tell you, but please don't resubscribe people that have unsubscribed unless they've requested it or it was a mistake, those kind of things. That will get you blacklisted. That will get people complaining about you and those kind of things. So I'm sure I don't even have to mention that to you folks. So, but it's cool that it's all taken care of for you, and it's a nice way to take care of those unsubscribes there. Okay, so we are back now, and I'm just going to go back to my main list at the Contact Manager. And again, remember, your list, if you're using the Business Center, is going to populate for you automatically. I've got groups that I've created in MarketAdvantage, and we're just going to take a look at some of these. In my Bonnie Bray group, I'm going to check that box, and we're going to see who's in there. Just Sally Smith, all right? So we're going to use that as kind of a baseline. Now, let's say that I do want to add somebody to a new group, and I only want to do it in MarketAdvantage for whatever reason. Now, again, your default, and I'm always going to recommend that you do this in the Business Center. You keep all your updates there. But for whatever reason, if you ever wanted to update them and just have that update in MarketAdvantage, I'm going to go back to the Contact Manager, and I'm going to choose somebody. I'm going to choose myself, and I'm going to come across the screen, and I'm going to add myself to that Bonnie Bray group, just like that. So now we know that the Bonnie Bray group contains two people, right? Sally Smith and John Jones. In 99.9% of the cases, you're going to make that change in your Business Center and not in MarketAdvantage. And then as soon as you log into MarketAdvantage the next time, it's going to make that change, and then it's going to be that way in both places. I showed you how to do that just in case, for whatever reason, you only want that group and that change that we just made to exist in MarketAdvantage. So know that you can do that. If there's something that you want to keep isolated, that you only want available to you in MarketAdvantage, you can do that, because it will not pull the other direction. It will never pull that group that we just updated backwards and take it from MarketAdvantage and put it into the Business Center, unless you did it manually. It's never going to do that on an automated basis. The Business Center will always win, and it's always a one-way sync from the Business Center to MarketAdvantage. So, and you guys are going to get tired of me saying that, but I just want to make sure that you understand that process and where that goes with that there. Okay. So let's look at, we know that we can create groups. We know that we should have groups, and maybe I should review that a little bit. You want to have groups so that you're not stuck sending out a blanket email to 100 people or 1,000 people or 10,000 people that may not apply to them. So when it's time to send something like a football schedule, maybe you want to send out the Raiders schedule, right? And by the way, I'm not a big fan of the fluffy marketing material as a one-size-fits-all, and I've clicked on marketing materials here. So I don't think you should send a recipe card to everybody you know. I don't think you should send the Raiders schedule to everybody you know, unless your database is used to getting those sports schedules from you. So let's look at that. Let's look at the sports schedules category. And by the way, another cool thing I think about MarketAdvantage, and I'm going to look at professional sports, and I'm going to go straight to football, is that you not only have the benefit of your local sports team, you have the benefit of the entire league. So right now, football obviously is ongoing, so that schedule is posted. The basketball schedules will be updated before the season starts, likewise with the hockey. In fact, those are new. I haven't seen those yet. The new hockey schedules are in there. So if your clients have come to expect getting the Raiders, and please forgive me if I'm using the wrong team for you guys, but the Raiders is the only one I can think of for LA. But if your clients have gotten used to getting the LA Raiders schedule from you, then by all means, you should keep sending them that Raiders schedule. And I'm just going to keep going until we find it. The nice thing, it's Oakland now. That's why I can't find it. Being from Denver, I sure ought to know that it's the Oakland Raiders. And we'll go back. It's got to be on page 6. There we go. All right, so we'll use the Raiders as an example. The nice thing about having this is maybe you're sending this out to everybody in your database, or you're sending it out to the people that you've indicated in your database, right? And I'll pull up this preview while I talk about it. The cool thing about these sports schedules is if you get a client that's moving into town and you're out looking for properties, they're relocating from Cleveland, and you put them on a list and you create a group for that person. There's nothing wrong with that, creating your own group just for one person. This is what this would look like, by the way, in an email version. If you create that and you send that one client the Brown schedule, the Cleveland Brown schedule, who's he's getting 10 other ones from all the other realtors in town, and he's getting the Oakland Raiders. And you come along and you give him the Browns one, that's the one going up on the refrigerator. That's the one that he's going to hold on to and print and put up in his office. So keep that in mind. And by the way, the whole point of all of these, and I know you know this, but look what's on that schedule every time that he looks at it. That's why we do this kind of stuff. That's why we do the fluffy stuff, is to have you stay top of mind and sight with people. So think a little bit outside the box on things like that. The benefit of having the whole league available to you is that you can quickly and easily access that. And by the way, remember, these can be emailed. They can be printed on your own. You can print these schedules on your own, and of course you should order them for professional print if you're going to mail them. But it's nice to have those at your fingertips, especially if you pick up somebody in a scenario like that where they're coming in from another city or another state, and you know that they like football. It's just a normal kind of conversation that you might have with somebody. So those are available to you there. So remember, you can create your own group quickly and easily and just put them in there. And by the way, there are entire campaigns dedicated to these as well. So you can put someone on a campaign where they get the football schedule emailed out to them automatically or printed and mailed to them automatically. And then the basketball schedules become available, and those are emailed or sent out directly to them. I should close my email. Although that guy's one of us. And then as the hockey schedule is available, that's emailed out and or sent direct mail for them as well. So it's nice to have that stuff available in that campaign as well, so that you can just put people on those schedules and take a look at things that way too. Okay. We want to look at some more very specific things, and this is where it's going to tie back into your grouping. So just in the marketing materials tree, in fact, let me start over in here. We'll click on marketing materials, and we can get very specific about things that we want to send out. A scenario for you. Let's say I have a group, and it's my past clients. I don't necessarily want my past clients to get things, my newest listings. Maybe I don't want them to get my sports schedule, but I do want them to have something that is sort of home ownership life cycle from me, in which case I might want to look at something like, a sphere of influence communication and just home and garden stuff, right? Gardening tips, landscaping tips, green living, which has become a pretty popular one with us. This is the kind of thing that can just drip out to these people over time and really connect them with you, with your branding, with your name, with the Dilbeck company logo, those kind of things, so that they stay when it's time to choose another realtor for them or recommend somebody from them, that they remember who you are top of mind. And again, today's lesson's a little bit difficult for me because I know I'm preaching to the choir on a lot of this stuff to you guys, but I want you to be able to pull that scenario out and say, I remember now where John went and found those things. It was under the marketing materials prospecting tree and just under life cycle kind of things. So there's nothing in here about selling a house to somebody. This is all about recycling, right? Green living tips. But by the way, and again, this is the emailed version of this postcard. If this was a printed version, this is the front of the postcard, and your information's on the back of the postcard. But a nice little email out to folks just about recycling in this case. So it's nice to see that way as well. And then there are other things available too. So just keep it in mind. What I really want to do, what I'd love to have as a mark of success with you guys when we get all done, is that you don't just think of MarketAdvantage as a flyer program. And it's an easy thing to do, and it's a great flyer program. There's no doubt about that. I want you in here. I want you creating your property flyers. I want your just listed, your just sold postcard creation done through here. But I want you to remember that there is so much more. And if you go to the trouble of grouping your contacts and your lead sources, then it's a good way to stay in touch with these folks in an automated fashion. So we know that we can go through the tree like this and find these green living tips or home care tips or recruiting pieces if you wanted to, or even different kinds of newsletters, right? There are pre-built newsletters in here on various subjects. I look at these as nice tickle reminders to people. They're very general in subject, but they're 100% done. So there is nothing wrong with going through the marketing materials tree here and deciding, you know what, I'm going to choosing the right school out to everybody because it's September, right? And I'm going to send that to my young couples group and just go ahead and do that. In which case I would choose this and I'm going to email it to them, and I would go to email and I would go to my groups and I would go to the family group, and I don't think I really have anybody in there, but I'm going to check that and I'm going to add them to the email, and actually there was nobody in there. So pretend along with me. We're going to add the Bonnie Bray folks to that group. And I can choose that newsletter. Again, I write the subject line, maybe I want it to be back to school. And again, if you can make these personalized and make them relevant to people, so much the better. So maybe in your area it's, back to school in Bel Air, or in my case it's Bonnie Bray, right? So back to school in Bonnie Bray. It's just that little extra bit that might get you better results in there. And let me put this in the right spot. That makes better sense. Back to school in Bonnie Bray. And then you can write, again, I can't believe it's that time of year again, and those kind of things. And we're going to send this one too, because those people both happen to have my email address. But I want you to see, and look at that. Here's what happens when someone unsubscribes and you're not, it precludes you. It really, it keeps you, it's foolproof from accidentally emailing them out of the system again. So it's kind of a nice proof of concept there that when someone unsubscribes, they get notified right away, you get notified right away, and then even so, it will not just allow me to willy-nilly email him. I would have to go to his contact record and fix it like I showed you before. So it's kind of nice to see that way. So it's going to queue that email now. I understood what it said. It's not going to send it to John Jones. It's only going to send it to Sally. Sally also happens to have my email address when I created her, so we should be receiving that one as well. But it's nice to be able to go through this list and pick and choose these one-off kind of materials for your groups and send them out to them. Where it's really going to be a boon to you is when we look at the campaigns themselves. And this is where we're going to spend quite a little bit of time talking about, not just today, but in the future, is all these different campaigns that are available to you and why they're so important. And here's our back-to-school newsletter that went to Sally. I'll go ahead and open that for you. So remember, we sent this to Sally because she's listed as my email address there. But this is a back-to-school newsletter. This is the email version of it, so it's got articles available. And then again, this is the bang for the buck, is your branding there at the end. So that's nice too. Okay, so we'll close that and we'll go back into our account. Thanks for letting me just kind of dance around a little bit. I think seeing these real-world examples where we send a piece and you see it in the email and you see what it's going to look like in real life and what happens when somebody unsubscribes, I think that brings some ease of use to you. At least I hope it does, and that's why I do that. And I know it's a little bit jumpy because I'm going here and I'm going there and bouncing in and out of my emails. In fact, I'll go ahead and close that so we don't get any more interruptions from that. But I appreciate you bearing with me on that because I do think there's value there of seeing what it looks like if you haven't done this stuff out of MarketAdvantage before. All right, so we're on campaigns, and this is where your grouping is really going to pay off because, and let me set a scenario for you. Let's say you have a campaign that you want to go out to everybody that ever visits your open houses, right? You want them to be getting something from you automatically. Let's go in and build a new campaign. And again, the scenario is we've got buyers walking through the door, right? And open houses, you can get some information from folks. Hopefully you get some good interaction. If they're serious folks, hopefully you can get something set up right away and show them. If it's not the house that they're looking at, that they're standing in, then maybe it's something else you can show them tomorrow. I understand that scenario. But you should have a plan in place to follow up with everybody who you can get some information out of. So you put the book out, you put the sign-up sheet out, whatever, and they sign up. You're lucky to get an email address out of them. I understand that. The nice thing is if someone does put an email address down, more than likely they really want to see what you're going to send them, okay? They may write down that their name is Snoopy, but they'll probably put a real email address there because they want that, if they're going to take the time to do that, they're going to want to see what you're sending them. So you might only get Snoopy at the White House as their address, but their email address might have a good ring of truth to it. So that's okay. Take that email address, and we want to have a system in place where everybody that walks through my open house that is looking to buy gets the same thing from me, at least initially. So we want to look for a prospecting campaign, and we want it to be set up maybe for, maybe rent versus buy, or prospective homeowners newsletter coming from you, or home buyers. If they tell you that they're first-time home buyers, you're going to drop them in there. So let's just say, everybody that comes through the door and that tells me that they're looking to buy, I'm going to put them in a Why Choose Me series, right? So we're just going to make sure that dripping out to them, they're going to get information about myself as a professional realtor, the services that they can count on from me. And again, these are pre-built. This is something that may or may not suit you to a T. You're going to want to look at these, and you can click on them and preview them. And we're not going to preview every one because for time's sake, I just want you to get the idea here. So I'm going to look at each one of these and say, you know what, I do like this card because all it does is express to people why they should look for a realtor. Correct? And then it's always going to have my branding along with it. Again, whether I'm going to drip out to them in email, as this one is, or in a direct mail piece where this would be printed and mailed to them. So going along with my scenario, I'm going to look at each one of these pieces. I'm going to say, you know what, I'm good with that campaign. I like that. And to save money, and really I'm only generating email addresses from these open houses, I'm going to choose an email campaign. Just know that you could choose direct mail, and literally, even if there was only one person in your direct mail campaign, when it comes time, 7 days after I put them in there, to print this postcard and mail it, MarketAdvantage will literally print one postcard, put their address on it, put a stamp on it, and mail it. And I happen to know that this is a jumbo postcard. It will literally bill me 80 cents for that postcard to be printed, addressed, and mailed first class out to that client. But for today's scenario, let's stick with email. It doesn't cost us anything. Everybody that comes through on my open houses is going to get this campaign, right? They're going to get 6 emails from me. And by the way, there's a couple of reminders in here that pop up. They'll actually come to me, the agent, as an email, a reminder to pick up the phone and call these people if you have a phone number, right? Or visit them if you've got a physical address. So you make what you want of those reminder activities, but know that with confidence that these 6 pieces are going to be delivered to them without you ever really having to do anything beyond put them in the campaign. So the next step, obviously, is to enroll them in this campaign. And again, for speed's sake, I'm going to pretend that it's Sally Smith that came through, and I'm going to add her to this campaign. So it did a quick check there to make sure that I have an email address for Sally because this is an email campaign, and I do, so she's a valid contact. I've previewed the pieces of the campaign, and we're going to add her to that campaign. So if I do nothing else, and I'm going to go ahead and save and activate this, starting 7 days from now, because this is the campaign that you and I just built, Why Choose Me, and it was built on a specific delivery date of 7 days after I add someone. They will be dropped into the campaign. So on the 3rd of October, Sally will receive that first piece from me, and she will continue to receive those pieces from me on a set schedule until the 6 pieces are done, unless she unsubscribes. So here's my pattern now, right? It's established. Sally's already in this. So 2 weeks from now, I get a new person, and maybe they're coming in from, I loaded them into the Business Center, and then I come into MarketAdvantage, and it's John Jones, right? And actually, you and I need to add an email address for John. We need to go to those preferences and allow that bulk email before I can add him. Okay, so back to my scenario. The Business Center, I added John Jones. He was my new lead from my open house this weekend. Now I'm going to add him to that campaign. So I check the box next to his name. I come across the screen to add to campaign, and I just choose which one. And in this case, we want him to be in the Why Choose Me series that you and I just set up. So I just click the box. I say submit. It does its check again to make sure that John Jones has an email address. He does. He's a valid contact. I know what the campaign's all about. I'm going to add him to the campaign. So now I've got a system in place. This is what I do automatically to anybody who walks in the door and gives me an email address at my open houses, right? Now, that doesn't mean that's all you got to do. But if life happens and you're busy and you've got closings and you've got people to show property to and all that other stuff going on, you know with certainty that at least this campaign is going to take care of that lead for you in some fashion. They're going to get something from you to keep you top of mind with them until you get a chance to turn your focus and return to them and make sure that they become your client when it's time for them to buy. So that's one scenario. I'm sure you've got other ones running through your mind. That's what the campaigns are all about. So poke through these. I know last week's homework, I asked you to sort of dig around through the marketing materials themselves, and I may have actually asked you to look at the campaigns too. But if I didn't, or if you didn't get a chance to, that's your homework this week. Poke through these campaigns and figure out how your grouping structure, your own grouping structure, right? Yours is going to be completely unique from the guy that's sitting next to you in the office. You're going to have, your prospects set up one way, your past clients another way. That's cool because you know how to connect with those people. You've got those groups together. And if you don't, start grouping your people so that you can send them something that's timely and relevant to them. And I know you're already past that. Now take a look through here and just see what campaigns are available to you. These are already built. All this stuff is done for you. Those are just, wine enthusiast, holiday greetings, continuous repeat and referral. This is just a drip out campaign that will go on forever unless you stop it. There's just a new piece added every month for the campaigns. So they can be that way. So spend time looking through these campaigns and see what's available to you, and they'll really save you time. There's 3 things, if you remember from last week, there's 3 things that I really want you to get out of this, and I think you'll go beyond that. If you can get your database done, and that's already taken care of for you because it syncs with the Business Center. If you can get the e-newsletter started, which we talked about last week, and if you can get campaigns running, the rest of it's all gravy, man. You can go in and create pieces on demand and all those other kind of things whenever they come up. But if you can get those 3 main things done, a lot of your marketing is being taken care of for you, while the day-to-day stuff that you deal with as it comes up, you can handle then. You don't have to stress out about getting an e-newsletter out or getting touches out to people who you met at the open house in our scenario. And again, so plug your own scenario in there and go through here and find things that apply to you as far as what campaigns you want put in motion. Okay, I'm going to see if we have any questions at this point. I know there's a few of them on here, so I'm going to read those back, and I'm going to see if I can answer them and get you on your way with those. First question is, can we ask how many agents? Oh, this is a great question. All right. I will come back to that one. I'll read that one in a second. So all recipients do not see all email addresses, correct? Great question. So when we're emailing somebody something, they do not see anyone else's email addresses. So it's literally as if one email came from me to them, and the system actually sends them out that way. So that helps you with staying with delivery rates and those kind of things. So whether I'm sending something out, like we sent that property flyer and we emailed it and we took a look at it in my email box and those kind of things. whether I'm sending out 5 of those or I'm sending out 5,000 of them, they are being sent one at a time, and they will literally go from my email address to the recipient, and there's no blind carbon copies, there's no copies, none of that. So it's a great question. Thank you very much for that. And the next question was, can we edit these postcards? And I suspect that you're talking about the postcards that were in the campaign series that we looked at. The truth is you can edit them. Most of those that we looked at initially in that campaign, they're done. The messaging is done on those, and your editing would be limited to adding new text or new pictures to them. But they are editable in that fashion. Many of the pieces in the system are editable in a fashion that that you're used to. In other words, you need to add a personal message to it if you want there to be a personal greeting. You need to add property photos to it if it's a property photo, postcard, those kind of things. All right. Next question is, can you add contacts to a campaign that has already started? Absolutely you can. So in our scenario, and we'll go back to the campaigns. Let me move this out of the way. We added, if you remember, we added me to the Why Choose Me series that we just created. But I can just as easily add someone to this single female homebuyer series in the same way. And the nice thing about those is that people will get benefit of the whole campaign. So I can take Troy Howell here, and I can come across the screen again, and I can add him to a campaign. And I'm going to add him to the single female homebuyer campaign. He's a friend of mine, so hopefully he won't mind. And I'm going to submit that. And now Troy will be added to that campaign. Now, regardless of where we are in that campaign, let's say when I first started that campaign, it was 4 weeks ago, and 3 pieces have already gone out. Troy now is on the campaign schedule, and he will get the benefit of all of those pieces from the beginning. The only exception to that rule is if it's a date-specific campaign. So if it's a holiday campaign where, say, the last piece that went out was a Labor Day piece, the next piece is October for Halloween, everybody jumps in where they fall in the calendar, right? But for something like Single Female Homebuyer or the Why Choose Me series, anybody that you drop into that campaign will start at piece number 1 and finish out on their own schedule. And there's reports that are associated with these too. So if we open up this Single Female Homebuyer campaign, I can look at the campaign report, and it will show me who's in the campaign, how many pieces have been sent so far, and of course we just started this one last week, but 1 piece has been sent and has been opened, so we have a 100% open rate. Next piece hasn't been sent yet, but as this goes on, that first contact that we added, she might end up down here, and then my friend Troy that we just put on might be on piece 2, those kind of things. So you're able to track that, and you can see who's in the campaign, a list of them, whether they opened them or not. If you've got a campaign going that you want to print the results out for, and maybe it's something like maybe it's a marketing campaign that you've got going for a particular property, and you can take that campaign report and show it to your seller and say, look, here's my efforts, and by the way, here's the campaign that I've got going out in regards to this property too, and you can see the results and open rates and those kind of things. So that's available to you as well. So really good question there, and I appreciate that. Okay, let's see. So I'd like to know, and I was going to set this up and I had forgotten to, as sort of a question, how many agents know how to load contacts into the Business Center? And I wonder if there's any way to set that up so you can get a good response here. The Business Center is really where you should be loading your contacts. And I hope that you're all aware of how to do that within the Business Center. Because if not, you're not being able to take advantage of that tool and then the automatic sync with MarketAdvantage there. So I wonder if I can actually do that there. Let me see if I can set up a poll. I don't know if I can set up one right away or not. I'm trying to create a poll for you. Well, we'll set it up for next time. I'll tell you what. We'll get back to that. So that was my mistake. I did want to touch on that today and see if we could do that. So we'll ask that question next time and just see how many agents are actually taking advantage of that. If you don't know how to do that yet, I really suggest that you get together with either your manager or call the Real Living Help Desk and say, hey, how do I add a contact within the help center, or excuse me, within the business center in Real Living, because that can really make your life easy. So good question, and thank you for the reminder on that, because I was going to set that up and ask that today. So that being said, you know, we're a little bit early, but unless anyone has any other questions, and I'm happy to answer questions on anything you've seen today or really just in general on Market Advantage. But we will be getting together again next week and talking about some really specific things. And next week's kind of fun because we get to sort of leave the Market Advantage product and see how we can interact online and use social media and have people directed to our social media efforts through Market Advantage and really take a look at that. We will spend quite a little time looking at creating those property pieces that, again, I think you're used to associating with Market Advantage, but we're going to take an in-depth look and do some cool things that maybe you haven't seen before in creating those pieces. So, and then we'll look at some really unique items. So do me a favor, go through the campaign lists, take a look at the different campaigns that are available to you, set some up. You know, if you want to be hesitant and not send them out to your clients yet, I get that. Put yourself on those lists and see what they look like when they come through. Add your friends and family and that kind of stuff, and just try different stuff out. And we'll check back in next Monday, same time. And again, next Monday is going to be fun. The rest of this is all going to be fun. And you know, we kind of get the housekeeping stuff out of the way the first couple of weeks. You know, it's a little dry talking about contacts and grouping and that kind of stuff. But for the next 3 sessions, we're really just going to be talking about creating cool stuff and different ideas on how to get stuff out. So I appreciate your time today, and we will connect next week. Remember, these are being recorded, so if you need to follow up, you can do that as well. And again, last time, I'll thank you for your time, and we'll see you next week. Have a great one. Bye-bye.